Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. So on today's vlog I will be showing you how do I edit my headshots. If it's been long overdue. I was promising to do that a long time ago, and it's been just super busy for me, so I hope you guys forgive me, but actually I decided to do it right now and show you well, basically step by step the process of editing my headshots. Also, I want to mention that I'm a little bit sick, so please forgive me that my voice sounds a little bit weird. I'll try my best to well, sounds as good as possible, and go through this entire process step by step, and then show you as much as I can my editing process. It's pretty straightforward. I know there's a lot of techniques out there, and everyone kind of has own way to edit their images. I'll show you my process. It's been a while how I actually developed this thing. I was trying several different things, but the way actually I'm editing right now, it's pretty standard, and yeah, I actually, most of my images you guys see today, they go for this process. So let me start and let's jump into it right away. So right now, as you guys see, we are in Camera Raw, just to kind of get ready my file into transporting to Photoshop and get kind of working on it. So in this kind of step, I don't do much. One of the things which I want to mention here, this is something important. So on the bottom here, there is another kind of link where you can actually just do a little bit of adjustments. So basically the way I set it up, everything here is I'm changing my color space to Adobe RGB because that gives us a little bit of more well, colors and tones we can work with, and I actually heard that that's really better. I'm not sure what's the big difference is, but I heard from several retouchers that that's the best space to work on your image. Another thing which I changed is we're going from 8 bits to 16 bits channel. That also gives us a little bit more, I would say, space to work. Resolution is 300, and that's the kind of settings over here. So we click OK, and then basically in this panel, I actually just work on 3 different things. It's the shadows, and I'm actually just opening up them a little bit. I don't go a little bit too crazy, and one of the rules what I have, if I see really significant difference, I always scale down. So don't push it too much. Try to make sure you do those adjustments very subtle. Don't push them too much, because that's, I think, the biggest mistake a lot of photographers they do, especially when they starting retouching their images, that they just pushing everything to the limit, and basically those images, they don't look good at the end. And another adjustments which I actually change is the blacks. Well, I'm trying to kind of feel what I like. I don't have any kind of standard numbers which I actually go for. I'm doing basically everything based on my taste and the stuff what I like. I don't change temperature much. Yeah, we can go a little bit, because it was 5100. Let's go to, yeah, that should be good enough. And we're gonna give a little bit clarity, about 3. I never pass this more than 5. That's just something. And this is basically it, what I do in Camera Raw. Really basic stuff. I don't go to any other adjustments. And that's, as you guys probably see, this image already, in my opinion, looks not so bad. So we're gonna just do basic adjustments, and I will show you how I do it. So we're gonna open the image in Photoshop. And let's basically work on it. So I'll try to talk as much as possible, but I noticed that especially when I'm editing my images, talking and editing at the same time, sometimes might be a little bit hard. So if I'll just stop talking for a few minutes, I hope you guys forgive me. So let's start with looking at the image first. So what the first step is going to be. So my first step is basically just fixing those most obvious things which needs to be fixed, and then we're going to be kind of going through this entire process step by step. The one thing what I want to mention here is, and that's something which is extremely important when it comes to editing images. So you don't actually just fix everything at once. It's the slow steps and slow adjustments which gonna kind of we're gonna apply into the image to get the final look. There's no shortcuts in editing. There's no kind of way we can just kind of run the action and then hopefully we'll get something interesting out of the image. I found when it comes to the editing, each image is different. We have to take different approach. Even the process is similar. We still need to kind of like just take the image kind of own way, and we have to just edit with kind of separate and really specific path to get this image looks really cool. Okay, so let's me actually start talking what I'm going to be fixing. So we're going to start fixing the skin first. We will leave the hair and other stuff at the end. We're going to start fixing the skin. So what needs to be done first? So basically what I'm going to be doing at the beginning, we're going to actually use a patch tool. And why I really like this tool is because we're not affecting the texture. We can actually just remove some of those things, and we're not gonna we're not gonna affect the texture of the skin. And I think it's really cool. There's different ways. I really like this tool. Most of it I found is most usable for stuff like that. So we're gonna start slowly removing those pimples, hairs, and additional things which are bugging us from the skin. I found that like when it comes to removing some of those stuff, when it comes to the women or girls or models, then like we have to clean up the skin a little bit more. When it comes to the guys, of course we want to keep the skin a little bit more rough, so we're not fixing some of those things. Some birthmarks also we don't want to remove. So we have to just some kind of like decided what we want to remove and what we want to keep. Like you don't want to also just remove everything because like the skin's not gonna look real. So you have to just kind of like make own judgment. What do you want to remove? So we're gonna slowly kind of go through this entire thing. And some of those things which they kind of look weird right now, like how we fix them, we still gonna make some other adjustments later on. So kind of don't really kind of like, wow, okay, this is something which looks kind of bad. We still gonna make some other stuff which gonna fix some of those things. So what else is here? There's a little bit of hair. I will remove that. Gonna leave this hair out. Okay. Kind of weird, so we're gonna fix this a little bit more. And when it comes to the headshots, some of them they're not really like high-end beauty shots where you have to spend a lot of time working on it. You know, it's again, it's your judgment how much you want to push those images. You know, this girl has really healthy skin, so there's not much. It's a different story where, you know, you have a client who is a little bit older and there's some things which, you know, need a little bit more work. But again, you know, you still don't want to push it way too much because, you know, it's not gonna look good. So it's, you know, basically something which we have to just keep practicing and keep getting better at it, and then you will see, you know, this whole thing, will get better eventually, that, you know, we will have this full control on, you know, like what has to be done and how much we want to push it and stuff like that, right? So I think that would be pretty much it. Let me fix some of those stuff here. There's a little bit of hair on the neck, but I think I'm not gonna clean too much because that's gonna look kind of weird. Sometimes, you know, we have to, some of those things just kind of let go. You know, there's always something which can be fixed and adjusted and stuff like that, but, you know, sometimes we have to just, you know, let those things go and then just kind of leave it the way it is. I found it's sometimes difficult, but that's the way it is. I'm gonna do a little bit of fixing here of the hair. We're gonna do a little more stuff later on, but if we have this tool, why don't we just kind of do just a little bit, just to kind of fix some of those most obvious things which already bugs me. So if we are working on it, we can definitely get this done. As you can see, this tool is really working well. You know, especially I found with those blurred backgrounds, this tool just works really cool. Sometimes, you know, we have to find some different methods to fix some of those things, but overall, you know, there's again, there's so much different things we can do these days to get the same effect. So we have to just kind of find our own way to fix some of those things and get our kind of retouching under control. Perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this basic retouch the way it is right now. So that's the first step. Okay, so the next step, what are we gonna do? We are going to go to basically just keep working on the skin. And actually I'm using two different methods. One of them is dodge and burn, and the other one is frequency separation. And actually I just mix them up. Well, actually I'm just doing first dodge and burn, and then I'm going to frequency separation. You know, when I started retouching, I found that frequency separation worked really well. Now I see some flaws that, you know, just soften the skin, and it's not kind of like the way I like it. So I started pushing more towards dodge and burn, and then I'll show you exactly how I do it. And then we're gonna jump into frequency separation, which we're gonna just do a little bit of kind of like adjustment, just to kind of get the image to the next kind of phase of our retouching, and then we're gonna go back again to our dodge and burn. So I'm using actually two different actions, and I actually got them from RGG edu. This action is actually from Mike Voloshinovich, and actually I will link this guy to my edit. I'm in love with his work, and he is the master when it comes to the editing. And actually I purchased this entire workshop on their website, and I also linked that, so you guys can either purchase the entire workshop, or you can actually just maybe contact this guy, and I'm sure he will be more than happy. I'm not sure. I hope that he would just kind of give you that dodge and burn action. There's similar actions you can find online, and they work pretty much the same. But I'm actually like this one because it has some few other things which I couldn't find anywhere else, and actually I got used to it. And as far to frequency separation, I'm using Danny Diamond action, and I also linked this guy to this workshop, so you guys can actually see you know, well, his work. He's also amazing photographer and retoucher, and actually I also purchased this workshop, and I'm using his action. It's pretty cool. I'll link it. If you guys never seen it before, I highly recommend it to purchase it. And then you know, there's so many great informations. Okay, so I'm not going to be talking too much about the actions itself. I'm sure most of you guys will somehow get kind of hands on it. And let's start with dodge and burn. So the first step, we're going to just basically run the action, and the action is divided to like several different things, and we're going to actually just focus only on the fixer. So we're going to be actually working in this panel here. And basically I'm going to do one more thing here. I'm going to do like an adjustment layer, black and white. So basically we will see which areas we need to kind of fix. So as you guys probably see, if I get this image darker, we have all this like dark spots on their face, which needs to be actually adjusted. And then that layer, black and white, that adjustments kind of show us and helps us you know, what do we have to fix, because you know, like when you don't see that, you know, it looks pretty clean, right? So it seems like, okay, what do we have to do here, and you know, what kind of adjustment we have to actually apply to their skin to make the skin looks better. So this actually layer just kind of helps us to you know, see this more clear, and yeah, we can work on it. So we're gonna use brush, and I'm using actually over here, well, I'm gonna using two different ones, this one and this one, and then we're gonna just basically hardness set up to 2, and then we're gonna set up our flow to also about 2, 3, let's do 2. And that's basically what, well, this brush is going to be very gentle. Like whatever we're going to be doing, those adjustments going to be very small, and that's the whole point. You don't want to actually just jump into it and start kind of like fixing stuff you know, too much, because you know, then we have to just kind of go back and start fixing. And basically what we're going to be doing over here, let me set it up here, we will be slowly actually fixing. So as you guys probably see here, you see already there's some changes done, and we're gonna actually just run through entire skin, and we're gonna be start adjusting and you know, fixing the skin. So I'll try to do this as best as possible. So also the one thing what I want to say, you don't want to actually just focus on one area. You just want to kind of run all over the skin, and that also kind of helps you to just kind of keep the flow, so you're not just kind of in one place and start fixing and then you're jumping to another. And I'm starting basically from the most obvious parts which needs to be fixed. As you probably also see, I'm a little bit bigger zoom, so actually I just kind of get really into it, and then we're gonna actually just cover much bigger areas, but that's the kind of the first step. So as you see already, there's some changes done. So also make sure, I'm actually working on the Viacom tablet. So I have this little circle where you guys probably see I can adjust the size of the brush. So that's really helps to speed up the process and kind of work with the right size of the brush. It takes time to kind of get really feel of it. I remember back in the days when I started, I'm not gonna tell you how frustrated I was editing my images. There's a lot of I would say pain going through that to get those images the way I want to make them look. And I know that unfortunately that's something which you cannot really learn overnight. It's gonna take a lot of hours of pretty much practicing and then getting kind of feel of it, and kind of train your eye to the point where you will be happy with your editing. It's like photography, whenever you get your camera, you're pretty excited, and then you start shooting and you're not happy with the results. But that's unfortunately, it's something which we have to just constantly work on and make sure we just keep getting better, right? The good thing is that there's so much out there these days where we can find the information, we can learn, we can practice, we can ask for help or advice. That's something which is extremely helpful these days, and I'm so glad we have reached those times where photography is not one of those like mystery things that like only the few could know how to do those things and how to get those images look perfect. So there's huge community with such amazing support, so that's wonderful. But also I think we still have to find kind of own way to do those things the way we want it. Photoshop is one of those things where there's a million different ways to do the same thing, and we have to kind of find I have to say kind of own way and find our techniques which works best for us, and also which gives us results which we like. I think that's the most important thing. And then internet is literally flooded with so many different courses, workshops and stuff like that. So I used to watch everything what I could find and try different things and practice different things to get just kind of better understanding how this whole thing works. But again, the beginning is always hard, and I think that everyone has to go through it, right? It's not easy way to just kind of see things and then put that in our kind of own workflow and expect that everything's gonna work. Okay, so as you probably see, I'm going slowly through this picture. So you see, this is already got better. So now we're gonna actually just push it a little bit more, and we're gonna work a little bit bigger areas. So that's kind of the next step. So as you see, there is some areas where, and sometimes I like to change to a little more different brush. This is a little more softer edges, and that helps to kind of don't here. And we can always kind of go back to our black and white and adjust it so things look a little bit more clear. This area here is a little more work. There you go. So I'm doing this a little bit more, I would say less efficient, just to kind of show you the entire process, but you will see the difference. I'm trying to be as much efficient as possible, but because of I'm talking and then editing at the same time, it's a little bit distracting, but still you guys gonna be able to see the process. And okay, so let's take a quick look. You see this is already look way better. A little bit more here. Okay, so let's take a quick look. You guys see the skin looks already way better. So okay, we're gonna delete black and white layer. We're gonna merge this whole thing. And now we're going to go to our next action, which is frequency separation. So as far the frequency separation goes, you know, this is something which, again, back in the days I was pushing way too much. Now I'm doing this a little bit less. So the first step of dodge and burr was kind of preparation for the frequency separation. So that gives us a little bit better, I think, results with the frequency separation. So what do we want to do? Because as you guys probably know how the frequency separation works, we're going to divide it, well, the skin to the tone and the texture, and we're going to work separately on both of them. So what we have to do in this first step, you guys probably see, we need to kind of get the, well, not the tones, but we want to kind of blur everything so that all the tones looks kind of blended, right? So I think 8 would be good enough, covers all the spots, and everything is kind of like one tone. We're gonna press OK. So this action is gonna go through. So also what I like about this Danny Diamond action is because it divides everything to separate kind of like sections. So we're gonna be working first on frequency separation. We're gonna get the skin fixed. Then we're gonna do dodge and burn. So we're gonna do the contouring on the face. And then we're going to work on the eyes, and then last we're going to work on the tonic. So this is just amazing action, because actually just gives you everything what you need in order to get your headshot fixed. And I really fall in love with this action. I'm using ever since I purchased this workshop, and I think it's great. Some of those adjustments, I think they're a little bit too much. What he recommends, I'm going like half of what he recommends to do. but we're going to talk about it a little bit later. Okay, so let's go to frequency separation. So we're going to work on the tones first. So basically what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be kind of blending some of those, well, patches of skin which they're not equal. So basically we're gonna go and we're gonna use a tool which is the lasso. We're gonna kind of like make the area which we want to kind of cover. Feather is going to be 10. I think that's is the best. And then we're going to go to filter, blur, and Gaussian blur. And you know, you have to also kind of make sure that you're not overdoing this, because that's, again, this is the biggest mistake what a lot of photographers do. They just push this too much, and you know, the skin looks weird. So we're not gonna go, I think 6, yeah, 6 should be good enough. Press OK, and then, because you know what we can do here is we can kind of repeat well, not the auction, but the filter. So we're gonna use the lasso, and we're gonna kind of do the same thing. As you can see in history, we're gonna do the Gaussian blur, and we're gonna kind of go through those areas. As you probably see, there's some places where, you know, the skin has not equal tones. You don't see much actually. There's just a little bit small adjustment, but just get this skin a little bit better look. And we're gonna go kind of through entire face and just kind of fix some of those places. This is not too neat. You know, and again, you barely can see any adjustments done, right? So it's some really tiny adjustment. Perfect. Here, just a little tiny here. That would be pretty much it. So the tone is done. Perfect. Okay, so this is first step is done. As you probably see, just a little bit soften the skin, but not too much. Okay, the next one is we're gonna actually just fix some of those areas which the low tones didn't fix. So what are we gonna do here? We're gonna actually just paint it over those areas which, well, they have this different tone. So this is a really small adjustment. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna go to brush, hardness is gonna go to like 0, flow is gonna go 1. So our brush is actually set up to like minimum. The next thing is what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna actually just sample the tones which we want to use, and then we're gonna just paint it over. So the one thing we'll make sure, go to the eyedropper tool, and you have to just set it up to 50 by 50, well, 51 by 51 average. And basically you don't want to take like a point average or point sample, because you know it sometimes might be fool you. So you need to kind of have area which gives you the average of the tone colors. So we're gonna go back to our brush, as you're probably gonna see, and now we're gonna just take a sample from here, and then we're gonna just very gently, oh sorry, I just went to the different layer, and now we're gonna very gently just kind of paint it over those areas which still need to get a little bit of adjustment. So over here, and again, this is very subtle change, as you're probably gonna see it. I'll show you. You see, it seems actually it's a lot, but you can really, you know, fix those. Okay, just change me. There you go. A little here needs to be adjusted. I don't really like this shadow here, so we're gonna fix that a little bit. Some of those areas, like, you know, close to, you can see how easy you can kind of adjust those. Perfect. See, you can really. I'm not sure why. This area here is a little bit weird color. Okay, where are we gonna go back? I'm gonna just kind of start over. Sometimes what happens is those when I actually just click on my pen, the layers get changed. So we're gonna start this whole process all over again. I found this is just kind of weird what happened. You know, and sometimes what happens is, like, we have to just be careful. What do we do? Because we try to speed up the process, but sometimes things get caught up, and we just like, okay, what happened here? Okay, fix this a little bit here. So as you can see, you can really easy make those adjustments, and we're not losing actually the texture of the skin. So that's extremely important, because, you know, some of those filters, they just simply blurred everything, and, you know, skin looks kind of odd. See it happen again. Fix this. Perfect. Yeah. Fix this a little bit here. Let me take a quick look. You see, some of those shadows get really easy. Not maybe removed, but they kind of less visible. Perfect. Okay, so now we're gonna work on high texture. So we're gonna use a healing brush, and we're gonna kind of gently go through some of those leftovers which still need some adjustments or need to be removed. This hair over here. Perfect. We're gonna fix some of those veins in the eyes a little bit too. With the eyes, you have to be very careful. You don't want to clean up everything too much, because then the eyes look really unnatural. You know, some of those stuff, like, you know, hair like this, I used to leave because that makes this image more real. I really don't like clean everything. I used to do that, but now, you know, we have to be kind of careful how far we want to push it, and, you know, more we leave, the image looks more real. And that's something which it's really difficult for, I think, most of photographers, because more you edit, the more stuff you see and more things you want to fix. And that's something which should go kind of opposite way. We want to make sure that, you know, we clean the stuff which needs to be clean, but we don't want to kind of like clean up everything, because then those images, they're gonna look really bizarre. So we have to learn how to, you know, sometimes just leave some of those things behind and don't worry about it and just kind of live with it, right? So okay, so that's pretty much it. So the frequency separation is done. As you guys probably see, yeah, it seems like it's another steps skin looks a little bit better. And then we're gonna go to contouring our face. So we're gonna go to brush, and now we're gonna actually change. So we're gonna make these changes even more subtle. So we're gonna go to 2, opacity, flow, gonna go to 100. We're gonna take this brush, hardness is gonna be 0. And basically what are we going to be doing right now? We're going to be actually darkening the places which are in the shadow, and they should be a little bit more darker, and then we're going to be brightening some of those spots. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to kind of show you. I'm going to use one layer over here. Let's put the brush to 100. Let's do red color. Okay, so those are the areas which we're going to be actually darkening. So this area is going to be darkening. We're going to dark this area, this shadow, this area over here, this over here, this. So we're going to make these areas darker. And which areas we're going to be brightening. So of course we're going to kind of follow the light. So this is actually going to be making this a little bit brighter. This area, this area, this area, we're going to just do a little bit of ice. This area here, of course, this area, a little bit here, and of course a little bit teeth. And also we're going to just maybe make this area a little more brighter just to get a little bit more contrast. Okay, so let's jump into it right away. Okay, so we're gonna go to 2. A brush, hardness is 0. We're gonna set up our color to default, and we're gonna go to black. Okay, so, and again, we're gonna kind of build this up. You know, you're not gonna see much when you're actually doing this because it's so subtle, you barely can see. So, but when you actually just start making those changes, I'll show you, you can see the difference. So also we're gonna play with, you know, different sizes of our brush. And also you want to do this very, very subtly. You don't want to kind of build this up like, you know, in one stroke of the brush. You need to just kind of get feel of it, and just start making those adjustments very, very slow, and then build it up throughout the process. So you're probably gonna see already, you see? There you go. This is something which okay, now we're gonna go to white, and we're gonna basically make a little bit brighter those areas which need to. And then you will see the image will start getting some really cool shape. The face started become kind of three-dimensional, you know. And also, like, you have to be very careful with this. Like, you don't want to push it too much. See, already started getting this really cool look. There you go. We're going to change to dark again and start building this up. We're changing the sizes of the brush. Okay. There you go. So this is pretty much it. As you probably see, this is another step. You know, the face got a little bit more shape. It's not as flat, and that's yeah, that's the next step. So the next two things, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be working on the eyes and the toning. Okay, so the eyes is pretty simple. So this actually action is has those different actually layers which we can use to you know, just make them a little bit brighter. So how are we gonna do it? So basically we're gonna go to the brush, and now we're gonna again change to opacity to 100. Flow, we're gonna go to 3. We're gonna work on the white because it's a mask. And then basically the one thing what I learned from Danny Diamond, and this is really cool, so like most of people, the way they actually just fix their eyes, they basically try to just brighten just the eyes, this area. And the kind of idea he came up with, that I think is brilliant, and actually that's, you will see the huge difference, that you know, like he starts basically from that size and actually just going into the eye. So you're not brightening just the eye, you're just building up towards the eye. And over here, so you're going from really big size and slowly getting into the eye. There you go. So we've brightened a little bit, as you can see. And as you probably notice, you know, you're not just brighten this area, you basically just build up into the eye, and actually that looks really cool on the image. The next step is sharpening, so we're gonna sharpen the eye a little bit. Even they're already sharp, we're gonna just give the little bit of extra boost to it. I think this needs to be a little bit more. Perfect. And then there's another layer which we actually can again just give a little bit of extra brightness to those areas, which needs to be just a little bit. Now we're gonna change to black, and we're gonna just make some of those areas a little bit more darker, so the eye is gonna have a really nice contrast. Perfect, you see. And now there's another layer on the teeth, and this actually what it does is basically just takes the yellow color from the teeth. All the people, you know, they don't have teeth white, they have this little bit of yellow tone, and that's gonna kind of, you know, take it. You don't see much of it, but it's doing pretty well job. Okay, so the eyes are done. As you probably see, this image got really cool pop. You know, the eyes got really big, brighter, and this is pretty cool because, you know, now this image has really massive impact. She's got a little bit of blue green tone, so actually works really well with the background. Okay, so then the final step is the toning, and probably this is the most difficult part. We're going to work on the tones. Also what he did here, he has this little kind of boost. Sometimes I use that, sometimes I don't. That gives you a little bit of more pop to the image. Yeah, actually that looks really cool. So let's do that, and now we're gonna go to the color balance. So this has a layer, you're gonna kind of click on it, and with this stuff you have to be very careful. I found that toning was one of the most difficult things to learn from me, and I always kind of overdo things. That was just the biggest kind of challenge for me, and I was just pushing those sliders back and forth. So now, as you probably see, you can really easily mess up the image. So basically what I do whenever I do any adjustments, I do them very subtly. And if I see that this image is like already losing the tone or like changing too much, then I'm actually just, that means that you've done too much. So I never push harder than, you know, ±3. This is the kind of adjustments I do. So in this case, let's take a little bit more redness. We're gonna go -2. Then we're gonna add a little bit more blue tone just to get this little more pop. Now we're gonna go to the shadows. It's -2. And now do yellow. We're gonna add blue tone, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we're gonna go to the highlights, and then we're gonna do +1. that's pretty much it. And yeah, this is the toning is pretty much done. As you guys probably see, this is very small adjustment. And the last thing, we're gonna actually build up the vignette around the image. So we're gonna actually change our brush to 2, and then we're gonna use dark, and we're gonna just very gently go around and build up this vignette. There you go. Now we're gonna go to bright and just get this little bit brighter tone, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so that probably concludes my editing. So probably there's a couple of things what I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing here. So let's see how the image looked before and how it looks after the retouching. So this is the original image, and this is actually after the retouching. So the last thing what we're going to be doing here, I'm going to be actually just doing a little bit more fixing on the hair, and then we're going to just crop the image to the size we want it. So we're going to go to, actually before we go to liquify, we're going to actually just do some hair fixing here. And then I'm using 2 different tools. One of them is the spot healing brush, which is pretty cool too. So as you probably see, you have to kind of go into it, into the, let's say, hair, and just kind of start slowly removing them. I'm not gonna do too much because she's got a like really beautiful hair, and then just fixing them too much, I don't think it's necessary. We pretty much need to just remove some of those hair which are like kind of like, I don't know, they just there, and they basically just take away the beauty of some of those areas, and they're just kind of distracting. Again, with the hair it's tricky, you know, some of those stuff needs to be removed. Some of those stuff I would probably just leave it. It's just to kind of the way it is, because well, again, everyone kind of has own taste and you know, want to clean own way. But I found sometimes, you know, you just pretty much leave the stuff the way it is, especially with the headshots. You know, you want to make sure, especially that when you shoot, you actually just try to make this image as best as possible, and when you're editing, it's pretty much only just to kind of getting the image to the next level, and just removing some of those stuff which bugs you, right? And again, you know, with the headshot photography, it's not a beauty shots, it's more you know, just to kind of showcase the beauty of the face, and then, you know, doing too much sometimes, especially for the you know, actors, or you know, some people, like, you don't want to make them look like, you know, like this image look photoshopped, right? So that would pretty much it. And then we're gonna use the liquify tool just to kind of get a little bit more I would say the final touch. So, and this is pretty cool over here, and then we're gonna just kind of slowly just move this area. It just bugs me too much. I'm gonna fix those a little bit. This whole thing needs to be fixed. There you go. We need to fix those ones a little bit. This is a little bit over here, which drives me nuts. There you go. Perfect. So before and after, you see just a little bit, and I'm gonna actually just fix those ones here, and we're gonna use like maybe patch tool. That's gonna make this job much quicker. yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so the image is ready to go. The one thing what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna just crop it just a tiny bit, just to get a little more there you go. And yeah, this is it. This is my final image. So let's see before and after. So this is before, when we started, and this is my final shot. So you probably see, you know, the skin looks better, the image has a little more contrast, and everything was done in post-processing. So yeah, this is my way of retouching. If you guys have any additional questions, or I've missed something, or I didn't actually clarify properly, just shoot me an email, or contact me, and I'll be more than happy to answer all your questions. I will add to description all the links and everything what I actually was mentioning throughout this vlog, so you guys gonna have full access to all those guys who actually created those actions, and I'm sure if you contact them you can really easy kind of get them. Hopefully, if not, you probably have to purchase their workshops, which I highly recommend to watch, because they have so many valuable informations, and I've learned so much from those guys. So if you are a headshot photographer, you definitely should see what these guys are doing, because they can really not only teach you a lot of interesting things, but also the retouching part of their work is amazing, and they also describe some of those things really beautifully. I decided to mix them up a little bit, because I found if you know, I like both of those techniques when it comes to you know, retouching, and I'm actually just going right now more towards dodge and burn than you know, frequency separation. I found that technique works a little bit better, but it still takes a lot of time to practice to kind of get really feel of it. But it's those two techniques, those are the most popular and the most common ones to use, and I highly recommend it to use them. So again, I hope you guys enjoy this. Finally, I've done it. I'm really sorry my voice is kind of weird, but I hope that kind of gives you a little more insight on how I edit my images. So stay tuned. I will be doing another one with the guy, so you guys have one vlog and editing when it comes to the girl, and now we're gonna do one with the guy, so you guys can compare. It's pretty much the same process, but I'll show you some other tricks which I do with the guy. So thank you for watching, and I hope you liked it, and I'll chat with you guys very soon. Bye bye.